Hi guys, it's Sydney with Log Cabin Village, and today I want to show you how to make a loom from cardboard. You'll need a 5x5 square of sturdy cardboard, a ruler, a pencil, some yarn or string, and a pair of scissors. So first we'll measure where we're going to cut the notches for the loom. You'll take your ruler, and at the top you're going to measure a 1/2 inch in and make a mark. And then one mark at each 1/4 inch, each 1/4 inch for 14 marks. You're going to go all the way to 4 1/2. 14 marks across the top. And then the same on the bottom. You're going to measure in a 1/2 inch and then a mark at each 1/4 inch for 14. Okay? Then you're going to come over and measure a 1/4 inch on each side of the top. 1/4 inch there, make a mark, 1/4 inch there, make a mark. Then you're going to draw a line and connect those marks, and that's going to show you how deep to cut your notches. You're going to use that as a guideline. You'll do that same thing on the bottom, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, then connect with a line. Okay, now you're ready to cut your notches. So with your scissors, you're just going to clip in to that line that we drew earlier, starting at that first mark you made, and just cut those notches all the way down. You should have 15 notches or 15 cuts when you're done. And then you're going to turn it over and do the same to the bottom. Okay, all the way down. All right, and that's pretty much it. You can weave on this loom. One more step I like to do that makes it a little easier is to glue on a couple of thin strips of cardboard up here at the top, just under that line, just over that line. And that helps lift the yarn up off the loom a little bit. Just makes it a little bit easier to weave on, but it's not a necessary step. So if you don't want to do that, don't worry about it. And so now it's time to warp the loom. That's the strings that go up and down the warp. So we're going to take some yarn, take our ball of yarn or our skein of yarn, and we're going to insert, we're going to leave a couple of inches on the end. We're going to insert that yarn at that top right or left, doesn't matter, notch. Okay? And then on the back, where that tail is hanging down, we're going to secure it with a little piece of tape. That way it won't pull out. Okay? Then we're going to pull the string down to the corresponding notch on the bottom and put it in that notch. We're going to bring the string or yarn around and insert it in the notch next to that one. Then we're going back up to the top, put it in that notch, pull it around to the one next to that one, then back to the bottom. And we're going to go like this all the way until you get to the last notch, which you should end up on the top. So we've gone all the way across. You'll end up with your yarn on the top, and then you'll secure that tail with a little bit of tape too. And then you'll cut your string. You should still be connected to your ball of yarn. And that's it, guys. You're ready to weave that. So you'll need a cardboard loom, a needle, maybe an embroidery needle. This is a plastic needle, which is great. If you don't have that, you could use an embroidery needle, or you could even use a safety pin and tie your yarn onto that. You'll also need some scissors and some yarn. So to start out with, you're going to thread your needle. Probably no more than a couple of feet of yarn, just so it won't get so tangled. I have less than that for demonstration. And then you're going to want to tie your yarn loosely to your needle so it won't keep coming off of the needle. And then we're going to start weaving. Starting at the bottom, we're going to start going over the first weft thread. It doesn't matter if it's on the right or the left, but over, and then under the next one, over, under, over, under, over, under. Keep going. I'm going to pull it through a little bit. Under, over, under, over, under. Okay. I'm going to pull it through until I have just a couple of inches hanging down, a tail of a couple of inches. I'm going to press my finger here, bring this thread here, but I want to keep it kind of bowed, and then scooch it down with my fingers, flatten it out. Okay, now I'm going to go back through. I want to do the opposite pattern of what I just did. So if I left off going under the warp thread, I'm going to go over it this time and under the next one. Just the opposite. It's really simple, and if you take your time, you'll have a pretty nice project when you're done. But it's very, very fun and very calming, I think. So put your finger here on the end before you pull your thread, and then bring it down, and you're looking for that arc or that rainbow, you know, kind of bow look there. This will keep you from bringing the thread too tight, because our tendency is to bring that thread really tight, and when you do that, you see how it bows those strings. But if you use that technique of pinching it and making that bow, then you'll keep the shape of the project. So that's just a little tip. Now when you're done, when you're run out of string, you'll untie the string or the yarn, and then put on some new yarn, another couple of feet, and start where you left off. Basically, you left off here under, so you're going to start over the next one. And that's weaving. Now you see, it looks like we're going to end up with a lot of these little tails, and those can be tucked in by going back and weaving them through a couple of loops of the weaving. Of course, this is probably not going to work because I'm filming it. There we go. So we pull that out, and then once you've pulled it through a couple of loops, then you trim it off, and you can see now that's stable. Another thing you can do is using a crochet hook. You can go up through a couple of loops or 3 and grab that, pull it through, and then trim it off. So that's a couple of ways to take care of these little tails that are left. So once we've done all of the weaving up to whatever point you want to, there's lots of flexibility here, and I would say just do a lot of practice with it, and really learn to enjoy it first before you try to make something serious. But once you've gotten to the point, and you can see this is not even the same size. Any size cardboard will work, a thin cardboard, as long as the notches on top match the notches on bottom. You can do any type of weaving on the cardboard. So this one is done all the way up to here, and I'm going to pull that last string through a couple of loops and then trim it off, and I'll show you how to take it off of the cardboard. So then we're just going to remove one at a time the notches, and then using your scissors, I'm going to cut that notch, and then I'm going to tie it. You can tie it twice, but once is really all you need to do. and it's going to make just those little fringes. There's different ways to do this too. You could tie it a couple of times and trim those off completely so that you didn't have the fringes, but just for this project, that's what I did. And so you're just going to keep on pulling these off the notches, and then you'll turn it over and do the same to this end. And you'll have something like this. It'll just be longer. I was thinking this might make a better bookmark or something like that. Now, if you have young children and you're doing this for younger children, when you put your warp strings on, you could skip a couple of notches and put fewer warp strings on where there's bigger spaces between the strings, and that might be easier and a little less frustrating for little hands. You could also use a thicker thread, and that would speed up the process and fill it in, or a thicker yarn. So that's just a couple of ways to address that. I appreciate you watching today. I hope you learned something. I hope that you get creative and use some different colors and different textures in your yarn. But most of all, enjoy the process. And thanks for watching. Bye.